You have the four motions of the wrist, which are flexion, extension, adduction, and abduction. Alright, here we have the extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis, the longest distal 1/3 of the lateral supracondyle ridge of the humerus to the base of the second metacarpal, and then we have the brevis common extensor tendon from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus to the base of the third metacarpal. The next muscle we have is the extensor carpi ulnaris, which is the common extensor tendon from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus to the base of the fifth metacarpal, which you can see starts right here all the way to right here. Alright, next in the pink we have the extensor digitorum, is a common extensor tendon from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus to the base of the middle and distal phalanges of the second through fifth fingers. Alright. Next we have the flexors. Flexor carpi radialis is right here, and it is a common flexor tendon from the medial epicondyle of the humerus to the base of the second and third metacarpal. Next we have the palmaris longus, which is in the blue and yellow, which starts as a common flexor tendon from the medial epicondyle of the humerus to the flexor retinaculum and the palmar apernosis. You have the flexor carpi ulnaris, you have the humeral head, common flexor tendon from the medial epicondyle of the humerus, and then you have the ulnar head, which is from the posterior surface of the proximal 2/3 of the ulna to the pisiform hook of the hamate and the base of the fifth metacarpal. And next we have the flexor digitorum superficialis, which its origin is the common flexor tendon from the medial epicondyle of the humerus, ulnar collateral ligament, coronoid process of the ulna, to the interosseous membrane in the proximal shaft of the radius. And then we have the sides of the middle phalanges of the second through fifth fingers, which is the insertion. We have the flexor digitorum profundus, which starts on the anterior medial surface of the proximal 3/4 of the ulna to the insertion of the base of the distal phalanges palmar surface of the second through fifth fingers. The next range of motion we have for the wrist is abduction or radial deviation. The extensor capri radialis longus, extensor capri radialis brevis, and flexor carpi radialis all abduct for radial deviation. The three new muscles for radial deviation are extensor pollicus longus and extensor pollicus brevis and abductor pollicus longus. This is the adductor pollicus longus, which origin is the posterior surface of the radius and ulna and interosseous membrane to the base of the first metacarpal. Next we have the extensor pollicus longus and brevis. The brevis starts on the posterior surface of the radius and the interosseous membrane to the proximal base of the proximal phalanx of the thumb. And then you have the longest posterior surface of the ulna and the interosseous membrane to the base of the distal phalanx of the thumb, which comes out to right here. The next range of motion of the wrist is adduction or ulnar deviation, which works the extensor carpi ulnaris and flexor carpi ulnaris. And last but not least, we have the carpals. The first one we have is the hamate here, the capitate, trapezoid, trapezium. Then we have the scaphoid, then the lunate, then the triquetrum, and then the pisiform.